You sit down for a simple breakfast. 2 slices of white bread, maybe toasted. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel like sugar. It feels controlled. About 30 minutes later, you check your glucose meter. The number is higher than you expected. And that's where the confusion starts. Because nothing about that meal felt extreme. No dessert, no soda, no obvious sugar, just bread. For many adults over 50, this moment happens quietly, and it raises the same question. How can something this simple raise my blood sugar so quickly? This pattern is common after 50, and it often catches people off guard. White bread is usually seen as a basic food, something neutral, something safe in small amounts. But the body does not interpret it that way. White bread is made from refined flour. Most of the fiber has already been removed. What remains is rapidly digestible starch. And starch, once broken down, becomes glucose, very quickly. When we're younger, the body can usually manage this rise. Insulin responds efficiently. Glucose is moved into the cells without much delay. But after 50, that process begins to slow. Insulin response becomes less effective. Muscle tissue, which helps absorb glucose, is often reduced. So the same slice of bread can now produce a higher spike. You're not alone in noticing this. And it's not about doing something wrong. We're looking at how the body processes the same food differently over time. Margaret is 62. She lives just outside Tampa, Florida. Most mornings, she keeps breakfast simple: toast, eggs, and coffee. It feels like a balanced start to the day. She isn't overeating. She isn't adding sweets. So when she began checking her glucose more closely, she expected stable numbers. But that's not what she saw. On mornings with white bread, her glucose would rise faster, sometimes higher than meals that felt heavier. That didn't make sense to her. She assumed heavier meals would create bigger changes. But the bread seemed to act differently. So she started wondering if she was missing something, or if her body was simply becoming unpredictable. Many adults quietly notice this same pattern, but rarely talk about it. The key mechanism behind this pattern is digestion speed. White bread is broken down very quickly in the body. Because it lacks fiber, there is very little to slow the process. Think of it like this. Fiber acts like a buffer. It slows how quickly food leaves the stomach and enters the bloodstream. But white bread moves through this process with very little resistance. So glucose enters the bloodstream rapidly. Now here's where it becomes more important after 50. Insulin is the hormone that helps move glucose out of the bloodstream and into cells. You can think of insulin as a key. It unlocks the door so glucose can enter the cell and be used as energy. But over time, that key doesn't work as efficiently. The locks become less responsive. This is often described as insulin resistance. So now you have 2 things happening at the same time. Glucose is entering the bloodstream quickly, but it's not being cleared as efficiently. That combination creates a sharper rise. What also matters is how quickly glucose reaches its peak. With white bread, the rise often happens within a short window. That means the body has less time to respond gradually. Instead of a steady increase, it becomes a sharper curve. And sharper curves are harder to manage. In many cases, this is why people notice a higher number at 30 to 60 minutes, even if the meal itself seems small. This faster rise can also be followed by a quicker drop, which sometimes leads to fatigue or hunger not long after eating. But here is where it becomes interesting. The spike is not just about how much carbohydrate you eat. It's about how fast it enters the system. 2 foods with similar carbohydrate content can produce very different results. White bread tends to create a faster rise than foods that contain fiber or structure, because the body processes it almost immediately. and that's why the response can feel disproportionate to the meal. This response can vary depending on how the bread is eaten. If white bread is eaten alone, the spike is often faster. There is nothing slowing digestion, but when it is paired with protein or fat, the response can change. Digestion becomes slower. Glucose enters the bloodstream more gradually. Timing also matters. Eating quickly can lead to a sharper rise, because the body is processing a larger amount in a shorter window. Eating more slowly can soften that response. Portion size also plays a role. 2 slices may produce a different result than 1, and the difference is not always linear. In some cases, small increases in portion size can lead to larger changes in glucose. Another factor is what comes before the meal. If you begin eating when blood sugar is already slightly elevated, the same bread can push it higher. Sleep, stress, and even the previous meal can influence this starting point. This is why 2 identical breakfasts can produce different readings on different days. The pattern is not random. It reflects the body's starting condition at that moment. There is also individual variation. Some people will see a higher spike. Others may see a more moderate change. This is why a single reading is not the full picture. We're looking for patterns over time, not one number. The goal is not to eliminate foods completely. It's to understand how the body responds. Small adjustments can change the pattern. Pairing white bread with protein can slow digestion. Eating eggs alongside it is one example. Slowing down the pace of eating can also help. It gives the body more time to respond. Some people find that changing the form of the food helps. Bread that contains more fiber may produce a different response. Some people also notice that spacing meals more evenly helps stabilize responses. Long gaps followed by quick eating can sometimes amplify spikes. A more consistent rhythm gives the body a better chance to regulate changes. Again, the goal is not strict control. It's understanding how timing and structure affect the outcome. The key idea is awareness, not restriction. When you understand how quickly a food affects your glucose, you can make small adjustments that change the outcome, without needing extreme changes. In some cases, when the body has what it needs to support normal glucose signaling, these responses can become more stable over time. But the foundation is always understanding the pattern first. If you want to make sense of your own numbers, I've put this into a simple, printable protocol you can use at home. It helps you track your readings and spot patterns over a few days. Many people print it and keep it near their glucose meter. You can find it in the description below this video. Or you can open it on your phone if that's easier. Take a look and see what patterns show up for you. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always speak with your healthcare professional before making changes to your health routine. Margaret didn't remove bread completely. She just started paying attention to how her body responded. On some mornings, she adjusted how she ate it. On others, she chose something different. But the confusion started to fade, because the numbers began to make sense. And that changed how she approached her meals. Not perfection, clarity.